Welcome back to a new season of the Outsider Sports Baseball Podcast. Back at it again, 2025. Still reeling from that Yankee World Series loss. Still hurts. Doesn't get better, does it?
No.
No, it doesn't help when your team doesn't improve too much, if at all. When really the league, not even the division, the league is open for the taking. But we'll get to the Yankees in due time. Today's going to be about the 2024 World Series winning Dodgers and both the AL and NL West. But some housekeeping first as we start. Last time we were on, we kind of talked about the Hall of Fame. We kind of made some predictions who we think was going to make it. We know the results. Ichiro Suzuki's in. He got 99.746% of the vote. He missed by one vote. 393 out of 394 votes. That is the second highest non-unanimous vote total ever. That's second to Derek Jeter, 99.748, where he missed by one vote, 396 of 397. Ichiro deserved it. Why can't they just vote these guys in?
Start stripping the votes from people who don't vote in the autos.
It's always the people that don't make it public either.
You can't risk making that opinion. But if your opinion is so bad you don't want it to be public, maybe you should have a new opinion.
Next, yeah, you're right. Then we got CC Sabathia. He's going in 86.8%. I'm glad. He's one of my favorite pitchers growing up. I remember the first time I ever rooted not for the Yankees but for another team was that 08 season with the Brewers and CC because of how awesome CC was that year. That was so much fun, and I'm really glad he's in. I was a little worried that they were going to make him wait just because he was a bit of a compiler. You know, the end of his career, he was kind of just there. He wasn't dominant. You know, high highs, but the lows at the end were kind of low.
Yeah.
I think the voters are a little more lenient than they used to be with that stuff, though.
Especially
with pitchers.
Pitchers and as a lefty, too. And then you go Billy Wagner, Philly great.
Yeah.
82.5% of the vote. His final year on the ballot. Really happy to see more relief pitchers starting to get in and get their due because it's been an underappreciated aspect in baseball.
It has. I feel like maybe back then, but I feel like now it's more noticeable when you don't have a good bullpen, good relief pitching.
Right.
So back then, I don't think so. Because back then, you had pitchers, I think, almost pitching like full games almost every single time they'd start. But now with the pitch counts and most guys only go 5-6 innings tops.
It's definitely one of those positions where a lot of people can do it, but only the best stick around and do it long enough to make them noteworthy. And, I'm really curious to see the case of like Kenley Jansen and Craig Kimbrell when they come up. Aroldis Chapman in that boat. We saw how K-Rod got treated. Not too great. But I wonder if relievers start to get more love. But we do have some other players not feeling any love. Couple big names still out there. Yeah, Patrick Corbin. I'm surprised he hasn't signed, especially with how a lot of teams need inning eaters. And he could do just that for somebody. Anthony Rizzo started first base in the World Series, not on a team. Lance Lynn, Kyle Gibson, a couple starting pitchers still out there. JD Martinez is a DH.
That one's the most surprising to me. As a DH.
Give him a spot to hit and he'll be fine.
I just feel like this year teams have been more willing to trade prospects and stuff for guys rather than actually pay free agents.
That and also and we'll see it after this year. The free agent class is upcoming after the Guerrero-Tucker-led class after this season. It's really barren. So teams are trying to get the talent now because there's not going to be much talent available in the future. You got Jose Iglesias still available, David Robertson, who had one of the best years of his career, Alex Verdugo, who started in left field in the World Series. Isn't me or is it?
Man,
What does that say about either the league or the
what
Yankees?
fortitude by the Yankees to
That
power
two
through
players.
to a World Series with guys that just can't even make rosters.
Like, that's the thing. They can't. They're
Yankee
not on a roster
organization.
in
Round of
March.
applause.
These two guys started
I
in the
don't
World
under
Series.
well, I listen, Rizzo, unfortunately, sadly, I kind of understand.
Of course,
Verdugo, lefty bat, platoon outfielder,
I
like
thought he would have got a
eh,
Benintendi type look.
is he just waiting for an injury to claim kind of a starting spot? Like, it just kind of makes me wonder if some of these guys are trying to be more selective of where they want to go to get like
I think
playing
it's
time.
just more of the way the league is now, and their willingness to give contracts out to players who I think they want to get more money, and they're only willing to give
I mean, there's no
good contracts
salary
to a
cap.
certain tier of players, though. Because I mean, if you look at, look at the contracts that like Soto gets, Judge gets, Otani gets, and then you look at like the mid tier, and like no one wants to shell contracts out to those players, even though they're like even though like they're okay. But
I
I
mean,
don't
we'll
know.
we'll talk about some teams today that could probably field Verdugo on their roster.
Was it the Yankees are apparently contacting him from what I saw after the Stanton injury?
Yeah, I mean, makes sense. Like I said, though, maybe they're just waiting and picking their spot and seeing
Yeah,
who needs me.
could be. Then you also, just to round it out, Buck Farmer, the reliever, Spencer Turnbull, James McCann, Joe Kelly. Which of these names, other than Verdugo, would you guys feel like is the most surprising that's still available?
I think David Robertson. I
That's
feel
what I
like
would say.
because he's easily just a 1 year deal guy, not a lot of commitment, and I feel like any team could use an extra arm in the bullpen.
It seems like only upside to signing him,
Yeah,
like low risk, high reward type thing.
Again, though, so maybe he's waiting it out to pick his spot.
yeah. It's just weird because he had a really good year last year too. But let's kind of get into it now with the NL West. We're going to start off with the Dodgers because they won the World Series. I don't know if I think the Yankees should have made it a more competitive series. Still a little salty about that. That one.
I mean, if you ask Nestor Cortez, the Yankees won the World Series. I love Nestor, but even as a Yankees fan, what a loser argument. Well,
Yeah,
we should have won game 1, and well, we should have won game 5. So really, we were up 3-2. Who's to say how? Okay, but you, especially coming from the guy who threw the pitch that was knocked out the park in game 1.
it's embarrassing.
Yeah, the Brewers. What a culture team that is.
So
Couldn't be the Yankees.
last season, the Dodgers won the division, 98-64 record, followed by the Padres, 93-69. They made the playoffs as a wild card. The Diamondbacks at 89-73 just missed it. You had that last game of the season scenario with the Diamondbacks needing either the Mets or Braves to basically sweep in a doubleheader on that Monday, and that didn't happen. Diamondbacks are out. Giants 80-82 came in fourth, followed by the Rockies at 61-101. This season, Pacoda, who simulates the season over 1,000 times, trying to figure out all the different scenarios and what each team's record will kind of be around. Surprising no one, they have the Dodgers winning the division again with a 103-59 record. If I had to give an over-under on this, what do you guys think? Dodgers go over 103 or under 103 wins?
It's so hard for me to look at this lineup, this pitching rotation, and pick anything under for this team. It feels like the 98 wins is going to be like viewed at as a low point for them in terms of a regular season in a couple of years. Ohtani, Betts, Freeman is you could start the NL All-Star game with those three guys at the top of a lineup, and all the way through the lineup, Tommy Edman is batting 8th. He was your NLCS MVP. The pitching rotation is 7 deep with Ohtani back, Yamamoto, Sasaki, Blake Snell, Glass now, Gonsolin, Kershaw, Dustin. I mean, this is just an unreal collection of baseball talent.
It's an
And
embarrassment of riches.
we're not talking about predictions, but I think when you go on any gambling site, there's a reason that this team is heavily favored to go back to back. So, whatever the win line is, maybe I won't actually bet it, but if you told me I got to pick a side, I'm taking the over.
I'm also with you on the over. John?
Uh, you know, it's a lot of games still. I mean, you have a long season. 100, that's 100. 100's a lot to win. If I had to guess, I would still say under because it's still, baseball and the other teams are still good. But I still think they break 100. I just don't know. It's hard to go to say if they're going to go over
Right.
103.
Next up, they have the Diamondbacks in second, 87 and 75. That's a big drop off from 103 to 87 in second place.
They have the Diamondbacks in second. Interesting. Well, I guess we'll talk about the Padres when we get there.
Yeah. So do we think the Diamondbacks go over under 87 wins?
I mean, hell of a top of the rotation. Corbin Burns, Zach Gallen, Merrill Kelly, even the bottom, Rodriguez and Font are fine. You guess got Corbin Carroll. Does he kind of have a more season in line with his rookie season, in which he was kind of the main driving force for this team to get to the World Series? Brought in Josh Naylor. I think 87 is a fair line. I think that the Giants and Padres are going to be competitive enough that I'll take the under, but not confidently.
Yeah, I'm taking the over. I think the Diamondbacks had a off year last year, and then adding in, Corbin Burns, getting in Josh Naylor is going to really bolster them a bit more. I have a lot more faith in them. I think they're going to take a nice step forward. I'm taking the over.
Yeah, I'm with Corey too. I just think their pitching has gotten significantly better, top of the rotation there, and I do think Corbin Burns is going to have more like he did the rookie year because I think last year he was dealing with an injury. I believe early on in the season, I think it was nagging him the whole year, if I remember correctly. So I think this year he comes back 100%, does what he did his rookie season, and very easily seen just Diamondbacks, locking up that second spot.
Then they have the Padres in third in a virtual tie with the Diamondbacks at 87 and 75. Dylan, you seem like you're high on the Padres.
I just believe in the Padres currently more than I do the Diamondbacks. So when I heard Diamondbacks in second, I thought that was a little odd. But yeah, I still prefer the top of the Padres lineup with Arise, Tatis, Merrill, Machado, and I think they can go toe to toe pitching wise with Cease, King, and Darvish, Pavetta. I know there were some rumors about a Dylan Cease trade or a Michael King trade. As currently constructed, though, I will take the Padres over 87 wins. I think they're in that 90 win club, and I think they're the clear second best team in the NL West.
See, I'm kind of on the opposite side with you. I'm taking the under. I'm pretty low on the Padres coming into this year, mostly because I believe that the turmoil in the front office and in ownership is going to really negatively affect the team. You have the late owner's wife suing the club and the current owners, his brothers, for basically subverting her, her husband's wishes for her to own the team and them making bad decisions. You know, I think a lot of that is going to negatively affect what they do. I think they're going to make trades. I don't think they're going to actively try to win. I think they want to kind of cut payroll, cut money, make the team cheaper. So I can see them trading away Cease, King. Tatis, I think, is on the market.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, if those things happen, like this is going to be a dumpster fire. It's just we're so close to the season that flipping all this talent seems like virtually impossible. Maybe you do it all at the deadline. But I also think if you wait until the deadline, this team's going to prove to be competitive enough that you're like more poised to go, well, let's ride it out and see if we can win a World Series.
I just think that it's going to be tough. I'm kind of low on them. What about you, John?
I'm kind of in the middle because I think they're going to give the Diamondbacks a run for their money and they're going to keep it very, very close, like competitive, like Dylan said. But I still am higher on the Diamondbacks just for some reason. I don't know. I just feel like the Padres. It's just like one of those things that's like they're kind of there every year, and I feel like at some point they're going to start falling off. And I think this is like the year where they're going to take a kind of a step back here a bit.
And then in fourth place, they got the Giants, 78 and 84. I'm taking the over, not by much, but I think they will be kind of on par as they were last year, if not a little better.
I think I lean the under. I think there's a little bit too much age in that pitching room to sustain a 162 game season with Verlander and Robbie Ray expected to be main staples in the rotation. Um, but I think that this is a team where any given series they could beat any given team, but they're not going to consistently do that enough throughout the season to be a real threat for a wild card spot, even in a 7-game playoff or 17 playoff, excuse me.
I think they're just a 500 team. Like I don't think they're anything special. Just 500.
And then we got the Rockies. They got one of the lowest projections out there, 54 and 108. They won 61 games last year. Is it possible for them to have gotten much worse than that? We'll talk about their additions and subtractions in a few minutes, but they added more than they lost. I feel like they have to be better than last year.
I don't think they have to be.
They don't
I
have
think
to, but
well, I think the NL West at the top, I think you could make a strong case that 3 of the 4 teams above them got better. I think the Dodgers, who just won the World Series, got better. I think with just health on their side and Corbin Burns, the Diamondbacks got better. I think that, you know, I think the Padres are still a really good team. So I think those are 3 teams that are just going to beat up on this Rockies team. And then even just around the league, like this is not a scary lineup. It's not a scary pitching rotation. I'm looking at the projections on RotoChamp, and their best pitcher, German Marquez, a 4.93 ERA is this projected. That's their ace. Like this isn't going to be a good team.
no, they're not.
But speaking of the pitching, though, they might have a prospect coming up this year. They said like has a really good fastball, like really good fastball that can be reminiscent of like if it's working really good of like Jacob DeGrom's fastball and Chase Doolander, I believe, and I think he's projected to come up this year, so that might help them out a bit.
It's good. But it's also always really hard to pitch in Colorado. The Rockies numbers are always inflated. I feel like we've never seen a Rocky pitcher with like a sub-3 ERA as a starter. It's just like impossible.
Do you think this is the deadline that Chris Bryant finally gets moved? I mean, I
If
know it's
he's
not a
healthy,
Yankees episode, but I could easily see that being their third base solution.
yeah, it's the contract, the health.
I mean, you could negotiate with the Rockies to
You
eat some
could,
of
and
it.
they've shown that they would eat the money like they did
I
with
mean,
Arenado.
yeah,
But
they've dealt with them before with LeMahieu.
I don't know. I feel like Chris Bryant kind of just doesn't care about baseball anymore.
I mean, he might just enjoy living in Colorado in the mountains and, still
Yep.
getting paid tens of millions of dollars to swing a bat.
So we talked about the Dodgers who won last year, right?
Mm-hmm.
They added Blake Snell on a 5-year, $182 million contract. Tanner Scott, they brought in 4 years, 72. They brought back Teoscar Hernandez, 3 for 66. They brought back Blake Trinan, 2 for 22. They even brought in Michael Conforto, 1 year, 17 million. They brought in Kirby Yates, 1 year, 13 million. Haesung Kim from the KBO, Korean, he's going to be their second baseman. 3 years, 12.5 million. He's the reason they traded away Gavin Lux. Kike Hernandez is back, 1 year, 6.5. Roki Sasaki from the Nippon League in Japan, he signed. Where's he going to slot in? He got a $6.5 million signing bonus in addition to this basically being his rookie deal. They only lost Jack Flaherty to Detroit, Walker Buehler to Boston, and Gavin Lux to Cincinnati on a trade. Is it possible for the Dodgers to go anywhere but up? Their pitching staff is like 8-9 deep, like you said earlier, Dylan. That lineup got so much better. I just don't understand how they do it.
Oh, I mean, I understand how they do it. When you get Ohtani on the whole deferred contract, it gives you a lot of money to play with. And you know, you can only offer so much money to a Sasaki, to Kim. Like so, while the talent's there, all the money doesn't have to be completely shelled out. Um, you know, here's my thing. Over under 7.5 All Stars on the Dodgers. And I understand that that sounds nuts to
Insane.
say, but Otani, Betts, Freeman, that's 3 locks. Teoscar Hernandez was one last year. Yamamoto, Blake Snell, Scott,
Trinan's their closer.
Trinan. That's 8 right there.
Snell.
One of those guys has to fall out at this point. Max Muncy, does he have some kind of resurgence? If Glass now stays out,
Edman.
like we could be talking about a team with double-digit all-stars on it.
It's not counting the guys that they brought back that were already on their team. Which of their free agent signings do you think is going to have the most impact on their season?
Blake Snell.
You think it's Snell?
I think Yamamoto, while he was great in the World Series, had some ups and downs last year. Ohtani's coming back off the Tommy John. They're probably not going to want him to be as an acting ace. To be able to have a guy like Snell to rely on, a lefty too, I think that he could easily win the Cy Young this year.
What about you, John? Who do you think is going to be the most impactful?
I mean, like, it's hard to argue with, Blake Snell with what Dylan said. I mean, because that helps him a ton. That you have someone to rely on there, especially because I feel like last season their pitching staff got kind of really banged up throughout the season.
Well, that's what we talked about going into the World Series when we were talking about comparing the two teams. We were saying where they were susceptible to getting hurt is their starting pitching, because Yamamoto was not pitching consistent, because Glass now was hurt. Ohtani wasn't pitching, and now you have Yamamoto, who looked real strong at the end of the year. You have Blake Snell. Glass now is healthy. Sasaki's Ohtani's back pitching. Like last year was almost the year to get this team, it felt like. And they won it all.
As much as I think Blake Snell is a great option, I would say Tanner Scott, because it gives them, a stronger back end of the bullpen arm that you can trust. Pairing him with the older Blake Trinan. Trinan's on a 1-year deal they brought back. Scott's being groomed to take over that closer role. On a team like this, knowing you have the 8th and 9th inning just on lock is so important for just them to know that they have the game in the bag, and allows the pitchers to feel easy about giving it all their gas in the 7th inning, just emptying the tank, not
What do
having to
you
worry
think
about
it's
what's
like?
behind
What do
them.
you think it's like just being Michael Conforto and picking up that phone call and then being like, "Hey, you want to get paid $17 million to come play left field here?"
And potentially win a World Series.
Like,
Like,
what do you think that phone call is like? Like,
He's just-
I think I'm.
me. Yeah, me. You want Michael Conforto? Me?
How do you feel about getting to live in Los Angeles on a beautiful beach house for a year while having to do minimalistic effort work, and you probably win 100+ games this year and are at least in an NLCS?
Do I have to pay you for that opportunity? Like,
No. We're actually going to give you $17 million.
it leans over to his agent. These guys are idiots. Let's sign it. We're seeing a super team. We're seeing what, us as Yankee fans, we thought we could be. Even the Phillies, when they had Schwarber, Castellanos, Harper, Nola, Wheeler, like we all, pale in comparison to what the Dodgers have built.
Yep.
And, the Diamondbacks.
We'll say this, though, about the Dodgers. If you don't get it done, the memes probably return, because you can't, you can't talk the talk, get the lineup you got, and then not walk the walk.
They need to win, they need to win every year for them to not get clowned, pretty much.
I think if they won this year, lost next year, and then won the year after, I don't think anybody would be like, oh, terrible.
True. But you have the Diamondbacks, they are one of the two teams, I would say, that we can all agree that are probably going to try to knock off the Dodgers. They added Corbin Burns on a 6-year, $210 million deal. Randall Grichuk, $1.5 million. Kendall Graveman, the reliever, 1 year, $1.35 million. They traded with Cleveland and brought in Josh Naylor to take over first base once Christian Walker left. Jock Peterson went to Texas. Paul Sewell went to Cleveland. Josh Bell went to Washington. Kevin Newman went to the Angels. The talent they brought in is much better than the talent that went out the door for the Diamondbacks. Add in, you have a healthy Corbin Carroll, not dealing with the issues he was last year with the shoulder and all that. Ketel Marte's still there. They're a good team, and I think that they're going to take a next step. You have Zach Gallen, who is a really good pitcher who, won this. He won the Cy Young 2 years ago, didn't he?
I believe so.
Yeah.
And then
I
he just
think,
had a down year last year.
yeah, this is the exact team build that I think can compete with the Dodgers. Chip on the shoulder, smaller market, great at getting, contact bat to ball. Carroll, Marte. I think Josh Naylor brings in a little bit of attitude that maybe this team could use. Jake McCarthy, Geraldo Perdomo, some young homegrown talent, basically, that, I'm interested to see how they develop. And again, a really strong top of the pitching rotation. When you talk about getting into a playoff series, that depth that the Dodgers have in pitching is a little less strong. This is kind of what we talked about with the Phillies last year in the NL. Whose 1-2 combo is going to be better than Wheeler and Nola? Corbin Burns and Zach Gallen have the ability to go toe-to-toe with any 1-2 combo in baseball. They're a dangerous team if they get into the postseason. I have my question marks over a full 162, but this is easily a team that could once again go from 7 seed to World Series.
They're a good team. Then we got the Padres following them up. They're that other team, I guess, that's probably going to challenge the Dodgers. They added a Nick Pivetta, 4 years, $55 million. Why? I don't know. It's a lot more money than I think anybody ever expected Nick Pivetta to get. Elias Diaz to be their, catcher backup,
Well,
1 year, 3.5.
What makes the Pavetta deal so interesting is we're talking about this team dumping assets because they want to cut payroll.
Yeah.
So it's like, hey, let's sign Pavetta and trade Cease. How about let's sign nobody and keep Cease? Did that one not cross your mind? Let's sign nobody, bring somebody up from AAA and hope that they're awesome and keep the awesome guy we have. Rather than let's sign a guy who's decent for decent money and then move the awesome guy.
A lot of question marks coming out of that front office. They brought in the pitcher Kyle Hart, 1 year, $1.5 million. Outfielder Connor Joe came over from Pittsburgh, 1 year for $1 million. Jason Hayward, a little veteran presence, 1 for $1 million. Then, they lost Tanner Scott to the in-division Dodgers. Jurickson Profar, Ben's favorite, left for the Braves. Ben's going to have to see him all the time now, and that's awesome.
Going to be amazing.
Ha-Sung Kim left for Tampa, not to be confused with Hai-Sung Kim, who's with the Dodgers. That's going to be a little difficult this year. I saw a video of people at a Dodgers camp. They had fans booing him, thinking it was Ha-Sung Kim at a spring training game. Kyle Higashioka went to Texas. Martin Perez went to the White Sox. Donovan Solano went to Seattle. They lost some talent. They brought in some guys just to fill out the roster, followed by Nick Pivetta on a solid deal.
Yep.
I just think that there's so much turmoil, like I was saying earlier, that I think it's going to mess with a lot of the just the mentality and the vibes surrounding that team. And I just don't know if they're going to be able to keep it, separated and solidified and make a run.
Yeah, on paper, this is a World Series contending team. But in the reality of the real world, everything you mentioned earlier in the app, what's going to happen with this team? If they get off, this is the team to watch in March, April, May. If this team gets off to a slow start, all bets are off. Machado, Tatis, Luis Arias, Cease, King, all on the market. If this team, by the end of May, is first in the NL West, all of a sudden they might be buyers. You just don't know with this ownership group. Chip on the shoulder, being told that they don't know what they're doing, and everything will be dictated on the first 3 months of this team's performance.
John, what do you think? You think the Padres
No.
are going to fall apart, or you
I
think?
I told you, I think they're gonna take a step back. I think they're just one of the teams that's been kinda, up there. I don't wanna say dominant, but they've been
Right.
good. They're always up there, in like the, second usually there. They're always in like, seem like they're always hanging around there. And I think this is, the year, you see them tumble a bit
I
because it
agree.
has to happen.
It doesn't have to, but I think it will. Then we have the Giants, who I do agree with Dylan. They got a lot of age. They added in Justin Verlander 1 year for 15. I saw some memes around it. This is like when you sim in your MLB The Show franchise and you have Verlander on the Giants and Scherzer on the Dodgers. Just guys that just don't seem like they belong there. Goldschmidt on the Yankees is another one that kind of feels like that. Guys that are just legendary names, big names, and are on a team that just doesn't feel quite right. They also added in, they got their guy, Willie Adames, 7 years, 182.
Their guy.
They've been
Their guy.
forever.
That's like their guy. It's like a kid in high school who asks like the two most popular girls in the class to the school dance and they reject him, and then a fifth girl finally says yes, and he goes, "You were always my girl." But Judge
They fail.
Soto,
Judge Soto.
Burns,
They were big with Burns. Even going back to Carlos Correa, they really tried
their
for
guy,
that whole thing.
Willie Adames.
Their guy, Willie Adames. They finally got a big name star to come there.
Yeah, I mean, listen, I'm happy that they got somebody to come there, but their guy feels like a stretch to me.
I mean, I was being a little facetious with their guy, but they lost Blake Snell to the Dodgers. So that's another team that is in competition with the Dodgers, losing a guy to the Dodgers.
I can't
Michael
imagine
Conforto was a Giant. Did you know that? You know where he went? The Dodgers.
I can't imagine how painful it is to be a fan of a team in the NL West that's not the Dodgers.
I can. Tyro Estrada, he went to Colorado. Taylor Rogers, they sent off to Cincinnati. I'm going to leave my I can alone. Please don't bring that back up to me. Seeing players leaving division. But I just don't know how the Giants are going to be able to do it. I like Lamont Wade. I like, the grandson of the wind. I just don't know what they're going to do. I feel like they should be trading guys. Verlander feels like a guy that could be moved at the deadline. Camilo Doval was a guy that could have got moved last year. He can bring something fun back. Lamont Wade's another one. Why are they signing guys to be the third or fourth best team in their division?
This is an organization that I respect the desire and want to compete year after year, but is treading water at this point.
They want to compete without really putting in the effort to compete, and I
don't even know if it's the effort. I mean, it's just probably impossible to compete with the Dodgers right now. What do you have to offer that they don't? The roster is just so much far ahead. You can't talk about taxes. You're the same state. Would you rather live in San Francisco or LA? No
Padres
brainer.
beat you in both spots, right?
I mean, that's a the Padres at least got young talent, but I guess at least where the Giants have the Padres is ownership.
I don't even know, because they're basically being run by Buster Posey now. And
Dude,
is Posey going to turn into one of those guys that's loved by the fans and now hated because
there's going to be a court
around?
settlement case on control of the Padres. At least we know who's going to own this team by the end of the year.
True. It's just I feel like Posey's going to be one of those guys that, was a legend, and he takes control of running the team, and the fans can just turn on him and hate him.
I mean, I doubt they'll hate him. Posey's been trying.
He's already he's already on the outs based on some of the stuff he said about San Francisco.
I guess I don't know what Posey is to Giants fans, but my assumption he is what Jeter is to Yankees fans.
I think that's a fair one.
I don't think I think Derek Jeter could run the Yankees into the ground, and I'd be like, you always be my captain.
I feel like we're in a way seeing that with the Yankees, though, because Judge has a lot of control with the Yankees, and he's running.
We'll
them in-
talk about this in the AL episode.
We are, but because
AL
you
East,
brought that
because
one
I'm
up.
just me and you have some disagreement there, so I don't
There's
want
We
a
do,
lot of
and we'll
stuff
bring that
said
up
about
in
the
a
Yankees.
few weeks. But I don't know. I feel like the Giants are just in limbo. They're like in purgatory right now. They're not quite good enough. They're not bad enough. They're just kind of existing.
Teams like this are what would be most frustrating to me as a fan because I would rather hit the hard reset than maybe be the 7th wild card team just to know I'd get bounced any day of the week.
Yeah. Then you have the Rockies, who at least know they're not going to be the 7th wild card and going to get bounced the next week.
Well, apparently they got, next Jacob deGrom.
They got Kyle Farmer on a 1-year, $3.25 million deal. Tyler Estrada, 1-year, $3.25. Jacob Stallings, Pirate legend, 1 year, $2.5 million.
Really shelling out the cash in Colorado.
Scott Alexander, 1.2, 1 for 2, I should say. And they lost Cal Quantrill to Miami. Brendan Rodgers went to Houston. Daniel Bard, who was like their big, pitcher, their face of the franchise almost. In MLB The Show last year, he was the guy that was selected to represent, the Rockies in Diamond Dynasty as like their team captain. And he's still a free agent.
Oh, captain, my captain.
So the Rockies, like we said, is this the year that they get rid of Bryant? I mean, Germán Marquez has always been a guy that's name's been thrown around to be traded. Like, what do we make of the Rockies? Blackman's gone. They have no identity.
They are food for slaughter for the LA Dodgers.
So let's kind of get into our NL West predictions. I'm gonna read Ben's, then you guys give me yours. I'll read mine. Ben has the Dodgers in first place, and so do I. Do we all agree there?
Yeah.
Yeah.
No curveballs?
Nope.
I'm writing this down for the record, so
write it in stone.
Second place, Ben and I also both have the Diamondbacks in second place.
I have
Dylan, who do you got?
Second.
I'm gonna rock with Slam Diego.
John?
I have Arizona second too.
So Ben and I actually have the same division list, which I think looks really bad on me.
I probably have the same one as you too.
I think the three of you have the same.
I don't think we do, because me and Ben both have San Fran in third place.
No.
I have Arizona.
And I have San Diego in third.
San Diego, me and Ben have in fourth place.
Yeah, I have San Francisco in fourth.
You as well, John?
I have San Francisco in fourth.
And Colorado rounding out the bottom.
Yeah.
Ryan
so
McMahon, future Yankee.
I've been saying that for so long, and they just refused to give him to me. It's disappointing. He would fit so well. He plays second and third base.
Yep.
So that's been the NL West. Let's head on over to their American League counterpart. And, while the NL West has the Dodgers at the top of the world, right? You have the Padres and the Diamondbacks as teams kind of floating around that are still really good. It kind of feels like the AL West is the opposite. You have the Astros, who were they were the big bads, and now they've kind of fallen off. You have the Mariners, who were never able to put it together. The great pitching, just no offense. The Rangers, who won the World Series and fell off into obscurity last year. The A's, who don't even have a home city, who might never get a home city. And then the Angels, who are the Angels. So last season, you had the Astros win it 88-73. They basically took over from the Mariners, who were leading for a while. Then the Mariners came in second, 85-77. This has been the league's kind of experiment in what if we have the best pitching staff ever and just decide not to throw out any offense, run out a AAA offense. Rangers, who had some injury issues, and Adolis Garcia was a little inconsistent last year, they were 78-84. The A's, 69-93, somehow not in last place with the emergence of Brent Rooker, Mason Miller. Then the Angels, 63-99. Pacoda has the Rangers winning the division 90-72. I feel like the over is a little appropriate there just because of how bad some of the teams are. What do you guys think?
I like the over on the Rangers without getting too far into our predictions. I will say I agree over.
Same.
Then that's followed by the Astros 88-74. I feel like that's actually a really fair number for them.
Yeah, I'd push on that number.
Mariners 87-75. I am also in that same. That's a good push number. Whether it's 1 or 2 games over, 1 or 2 games under, I feel like they're in that ballpark.
Yeah, they feel more 82 to 85 to
I was
me.
gonna say they feel low 80s to me.
Then we got the Angels in fourth place, 74-88.
Under.
Under would be very, very fair. Followed by the Sacramento A's, 71-91.
I
don't even
kind of
know what
like
to
it.
think of them.
I kind of like the line.
So let's kind of get into the Astros, who I was convinced were going to make it to the World Series, if not the ALCS last year. They just have that grit, that experience.
Had.
They brought in Christian Walker 3 years for 60. They brought in Ben Gamel 1 year, 1.2. They traded for Isaac Paredes, Hayden Wesneski, and Cam Smith from the Cubs. They gave Kyle Tucker away to the Cubs. They got some names. They got rid of Ryan Presley to the Cubs. They gave it Presley and cash. They brought back Juan Bello, a minor league pitcher, but they lost Alex Bregman, who was their de facto captain in a way, a little bit more vocal than Jose Altuve. He went to Boston. Yusei Kikuchi went to the Angels. Justin Verlander went to San Fran, like we said. Jason Hayward went to San Diego. Kendall Graveman, Arizona. Caleb Ferguson went to Pittsburgh. The Astros are, I think, trying to salvage what's left of Altuve's career before they do another hard reset. And I don't know about you guys. I do think it's really weird that they're going to play Altuve a lot in left field this year. It's not an easy left field to play in Houston, especially with that wall and Altuve's size. I think it's going to be an issue, especially because he's been a second baseman for so long.
Yeah, I think this is going to be a really interesting year in Houston. I somehow think that they'll figure it out and be vying for a playoff spot for sure. But some questions about Altuve and left. Replacing Kyle Tucker and Alex Bregman in the lineup certainly isn't easy. Paredes, Christian Walker, Gamble, can those guys sustain enough production to be determined? And the pitching rotation outside of Framber Valdez, I have question marks all over. Hunter Brown, it's put up or shut up time at this point. You're not behind Verlander and a lot of great pitchers anymore. Like, you're the number 2. Ronel Blanco, Argretti, JP France, Christian Javier, just a lot of question marks on this rotation for me. In AL that isn't exactly super strong, but does have some teams with some high power offense.
Then we got the Mariners, who, like we said, their offense was non-existent last year. They added in Jorge Polanco. That was their big free agency ad. 1 year, $7.75 million. Donovan Solano, the infielder, $1.35 million. They traded for Miles Mastrobuoni from the Cubs, but they lost Yimi Garcia to Toronto. Justin Turner went to the Cubs, their DH. Josh Rojas went to the White Sox. Luis Urias to the A's. Luis Carvalho to the Rangers. I just don't think they did anything to change how last year went for them.
No, as somebody who consistently bought stock in this team, I have not bought any this year, and I don't plan on it.
It just seems like they just do absolutely nothing year in, year out.
That is such a good pitching staff.
And J-Rod is a stud.
Yeah,
you've done the hard part.
Yeah.
You have
They
the
just
star and
wanna
you
do
have
a
the
little
pitching
more,
staff. You
but they don't
just
wanna
have to
do
clean up
anything.
around the edges, and they
But
just
they don't want
don't.
to. They just don't.
Cal
At least
Raleigh's
they're
a
not
solid catcher.
it's just at least they're not like the Marlins and just trade away every good player they get.
You're right, but like they
So
just squander them.
but they're not getting anyone else to help with the team, and they're just but you're just wasting them, so I don't even know.
I mean, think about it. Luis Castillo, Logan Gilbert, Brian Wu. Just three
Kirby,
guys right there.
Bryce Miller.
Bryce
Bryce
Miller.
Miller.
Just
Like, they don't there's not a single person that RotoChamp has in their starting rotation projected over a 4 ERA.
I mean, that's just insane. And they're maybe gonna win 88 games, 85 games. Do they
Uh,
even get to be 500?
This is the team that I hope if the Padres blow it up, that they take advantage. And obviously,
Good.
every time that there's anybody available, I hope that goes to the Yankees. But could you imagine Fernando Tatis in the Mariners?
That would be insane. But then you have the Rangers who, are one season removed from winning the World Series in 23. They're, our first season doing this show. The Rangers are the ones that won. Now they brought back Nathan Eovaldi, 3 years, 75. Jock Peterson they brought in, 2 years, 37. Higashioka, the home run Stroka, 2 years, 13.5 million. Chris Martin, 1 year, 5.5, the reliever. Hobby Miller, 1 year, 2.5. Another reliever, and a third reliever, Luke Jackson, 1 year, 1.5. But they lost, Kirby Yates to the Dodgers, Max Scherzer to Toronto, Carson Kelly to the Cubs, Jose Leclerc to the A's, Andrew Heaney to the Pirates, Grant Wolfram to the Brewers. They traded Nathaniel Lau to the Nationals. That was a move that really confused me because he's a really solid player. So that really confused me on what their plans were.
Yeah, we talked about earlier in this episode David Robertson being a free agent. They should do everything they can to bring him back. This is a lineup with a lot of pop in it. They're going to score a lot of runs, and I like the starters, but I have some serious question marks in going into the 7th, 8th, and 9th if this team's in a close game.
I think I think there's a chance DeGrom comes back though. I feel like we're kind of forgetting about him. I mean, he hasn't played in what, how
No.
long?
I like the starting pitching.
Yeah.
I like Eovaldi. I like Gray. I like Malley. I like Jack Leiter coming up. I like DeGrom
Kumar
back for
Rocker's
this
still
team.
there.
Yeah, I like the starters. Just the back end of the bullpen, they're all gone. Leclerc gone. Kirby Yates gone. Robertson free agent. Are you going to bring him back? Like, even when they won the World Series, it's not like their relief pitching was all that strong. Leclerc was good, but this is a team where their back end of their bullpen in a close game, which you're going to be in if you're going to, one, get to the World Series again, and two, win it, it needs to be stronger.
You're absolutely right. And when they did win, they got lucky with a hot streak from their bullpen. I wonder if they have another bad year this year. I don't see them doing anything at the deadline, but do we see them kind of trying to reconsider where they're at? Do we see like a Corey Seager, want out kind of trade, a Marcus Simeon want out kind of move? I don't think they're going to trade any of their young pitching, but Adolis Garcia is a guy they can move and maybe get something for. Could we see them try to rebuild on the fly that way to focus more on their pitching and then flesh it out?
Yeah, I mean, I think potentially, but the Nathaniel Lowe trade kind of, like you said, threw me through a loop. I think they really like the lineup they have, and I wouldn't be shocked if they were just aggressive, even if they were a 500 team at the deadline.
All right. I mean, they got Josh Smith, Ezekiel Duran. They
Yeah.
got guys that could help, Wyatt Langford, but they just need that back end to really be solidified. And they should be calling up Robertson right away. Like, hey, you're our closer. Come on.
Yeah.
Then now you got the A's. Are they Sacramento? They're not Oakland. Will they ever be Las Vegas? It's kind of embarrassing, that, The Rays are playing in a minor league stadium at a necessity. The A's are playing in a minor league stadium at a stupidity. They left Oakland before they had a new stadium. They didn't even have a deal in place for a new stadium. Like, they might not go to Vegas because they don't have anything written. No contracts are signed, nothing guaranteed that they'll ever build them a stadium there.
Call me crazy. I think the A's are going to be fun. I think they're going to be a fun team.
I don't disagree. Like, they brought in Luis Severino, $367, the largest deal in franchise history. Me and you both have said how many times we really do like Severino.
Yeah, there's a lot of players on this team that I like. I like Brent Rooker. I like Zach Geloff. I like Seth Brown. I like Gio Urshela. I
Mason
like
Miller.
Severino. Mason Miller as a closer. I like JP Sears. Like,
Right,
I think they have some fun, exciting
Miguel
talent that
Andujar?
I would actually be interested in watching an A's game.
Like, they brought in Jose Leclerc, 1 year, $10 million. Gio Urshela, like you said, 1 year, 2
It's like the exact opposite problem of the Rangers, where their bullpen's actually decent, like good. Leclerc to Miller.
They took the Rangers' best reliever.
Yep.
TJ McFarland, a reliever, 1 for 1.8. Luis Urias, 1 for 1.1. They only lost Scott Alexander to Colorado, a reliever, and Ross Stripling, another pitcher, to Kansas City. Like, I know I already have plans for one of my friends. It's his 30th. We're going on a nice luxury suite. He rented out for everybody. Taking a party bus up, and we're seeing the A's, Yankees A's in the Bronx. Like, that's the game that's the game he wanted to see. He wanted to see if Severino would play. He wanted Gio. He wanted what is it, Andujar. Like, it's just
a lot of ex-Yankees on the A's. I feel like a lot of Yankees fans will be rooting for the A's this year.
Yeah, I mean, Herman threw a perfect game against them, so you feel a little bad.
Yeah,
like they're going to be scrappy.
Citizen of the Year, I heard.
Still a free agent.
Really? No way.
Wonder why. But they're going to be a fun, scrappy team. They're not going to be good, but they're going to be, any given day, they could really take down the best teams in baseball.
I think they could surprise some. They're going to surprise some people.
Surprise, like playoff surprise?
I don't think it's playoff surprise, but I think like surprise, maybe coming in third surprise.
Over under 2.5 All-Stars.
Under.
I would say under.
Under meaning 2?
Yeah, I feel like 2.
I think Mason Miller and
Brent Rooker.
Brent Rooker.
Yeah,
could find their way.
Geloff could do it. Severino could pitch himself into an All-Star bid.
I feel like unlikely, but like possible.
It depends on everybody else in the league, and like
I think under is waste. I think over under 1.5 is like where the juice would be.
Right.
Yeah.
But then that's followed up by the Angels, who they added in Yusei Kikuchi, 3 for 63.675. Travis d'Arnaud, the catcher, 2 for 12. They brought in Kenley Jansen, one of those closers we talked about. How will his career be looked at? 1 for 10.
John thinks when he sees this team, is this the year Mike Trout could be a Philly?
Is this
Yoel Moncada, 1 year for $5 million. Kevin Newman, 1 year, 2.75. Kyle Hendricks, 1 year, $2.5 million to the Angels. They lost Patrick Sandoval to Boston, Griffin Canning to Atlanta, Kevin Pillar to the Rangers, Matt Moore to Boston, Anthony Rendon to not loving baseball.
I wonder, can the Yankees just go get Moncada now? The guy that I wanted him to get in free agency? What's the cost to really get him from the Angels?
Player to be named later? Cash considerations?
I mean, what do we got? Starting shortstop Tim Anderson, right? Is that where we're at with this team?
Forget about Moncada. When are we going to get what's his face, the catcher in the Bronx? His name's Logan O'Hoppe. Yankee fan as a kid, massive pop. Get him to the Bronx. Let him learn first base and be our future there.
Yeah. This team is a disaster.
I
mean, I love Trout, but like you just have to bake in that the guy's only going to play like 60 games.
It's sad.
And when he played, like what he was last year, he was like the only one. He was like their whole offense when he played. Like
Yeah.
he was like, how many? He had like what? He was like leading league in home
What
runs,
what
but
a
he had
business
like.
what a business decision from Ohtani to leave this team.
But it's crazy, even when you look at the team back then when they had like Ohtani and Trout, and they still couldn't. They still couldn't do anything.
I was
They-
listening to some sports radio today, and they were talking about John Cena being a heel, right? And they're saying that the biggest heel in baseball has to be Ohtani going from the Angels to the Dodgers. That crosstown.
I don't know. That
I
one,
don't know.
I mean, to
I'm
be
not the
fair,
WWE guy.
Ohtani went there before the team got like out of pocket loaded. Like he was there before Yamamoto.
He was
He
there
was there
after
before,
Betts.
yeah, but he was there before Teoscar,
But I feel like it's also the thing, like if you're an Angels fan and you like Ohtani, like
before
don't
Tommy
you want to see
Edman,
him do good
before
somewhere
Blake
else?
Snell, before
After
Tanner
Freeman.
Scott, before before Conforto.
For Conforto.
Man, it's just. I
Oh
think no
man.
matter what the Angels do with people leaving, adding, that's just they're the Angels and they're just going to do Angels stuff.
I saw a video a couple years ago. The Angels, everybody talked about how bad their pitching was. They drafted, I think, 13 pitchers. Their whole draft was all pitchers.
Not one
They
pan
didn't
out.
hit on anyone.
I think it was more than half of them are out of the league, out of baseball already. And this was like 2-3 years ago they did this. And pretty much none of them are the ones that are in baseball or aren't even on their team.
Honestly,
boy.
it's so crazy the Angels like don't do as bad, like haven't been as bad as the White Sox were last season at this point. With like a draft, like with just stuff like doing stuff like that.
You're right. The Angels are. It's tough to be as bad as the White Sox were last year. Like you have to really try. Like the Rockies are bad, and they were around the same as the Angels last year. Like the White Sox are a special type of bad.
Well, it's generational bad. I mean, they broke the did they break the record for?
Yeah, they broke the record and then some.
There's
But
high highs and low lows in baseball in 2025.
so giving our AL West predictions. Again, Ben gave me his, and we both have the Rangers winning the division next year. Do we have a complete agreement on that?
I am in agreement.
Yeah.
And we both have Seattle in second place.
I have Houston.
I also have Houston.
We have Houston in third.
Seattle.
I have Seattle in third. Yep.
Now, where we changed is I have the A's in fourth place.
I as well have the A's in fourth
So do
place.
I think they're going to be good enough. I mean, it's hard. I don't think they're going to be worse than the Angels.
Ben has the Angels in fourth. I have the Angels in last. He has the A's in last.
Yeah. Me and
But
John.
Ben's sleeping on.
Me and John, AL West.
Yeah. Ben's sleeping on the A's though.
I think he is too, and he's not even here to defend his reasoning why. We'll have to gang up on him next time he's on.
Yeah.
Next time he gets on, we're like,
Well, we're gonna talk about Jerkson Profar and him sleeping on the A's.
Yeah, we're gonna be like, screw this Mets Yankees talk that's gonna go on for hours, and Phillies talk. Why don't you respect the Oakland, Sacramento, Las Vegas A's?
But that's going to do it for us for this one. That's been the AL and NL West with some other stuff sprinkled in. We'll be back with some Central talk and hopefully another fun, good season, a healthy one where maybe the Yankees and Phillies do well, not the Mets because Ben's not here. But that's going to do it for us. Corey, Jason, John, Pauline, Dylan, Mel. Keep tuning in to the Outsider Sports Baseball Podcast.